I have a very special guest with me, Josh Allan Dykstra. Did I say your last name right, Josh?
Dykstra, very close.
Dykstra. I'm so sorry. Josh and I have gotten lost in many conversations because we're so passionate about the same things, but I've never said your last name out loud to you.
Yeah,
So welcome, Josh. I
thank you.
I just want to tell the gang a little bit about you and your awesomeness. Josh is a speaker, he is a consultant, he is a writer. He has been featured on Fast Company, on Forbes, on Business Insider. He is a work revolutionary, helping transform work culture with companies like Apple, and I'm just really excited, Josh, to have you with us today. And yeah, let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about with work culture. We know that, over 70% of employees are not engaged at work, right? And that's a big problem. So what are you seeing when you go into companies? What are you seeing that's kind of going right, and what's going wrong and what's going right?
Okay. Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the organization, right? There's a pretty, as I'm sure you see too in your work. There's a big spectrum. I think that's what I see first of all. So when you have a
Yeah.
vantage point like we do as a consultant, you see a lot of different kinds of organizations, and the spectrum is huge because some people, some organizations, some leaders really care about things like culture, and because they care, their culture tends to be better. And other people, it's like the air we breathe, in a sense. And so if you don't make yourself aware of it, you don't know it's there. And I think culture is kind of like that. And so many people, they're not aware that they're kind of breathing culture, and therefore their culture doesn't really get any attention. And many times the path of least resistance with culture kind of sucks. It doesn't work out that well if we don't pay attention to it. I sometimes use the analogy of, if you are a business and you may want to make money in your business, but in your business nobody's paying attention to invoices or billing. Good luck with that. You're probably not going to do so well on the money front if nobody's paying attention to it. And I think culture's like that
Yeah.
too. If we want culture to be great, somebody's got to be paying attention to it. And so, yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of things that could be done better when it comes to culture.
So one of the things that you focus on is engaging people through their strengths. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, yeah, I know, and this is an area that you and I share a tremendous passion about, and it's this area of positive psychology. And so strengths, if the viewers aren't familiar, it comes from the same, like, positive psychology. That's the birthing place for all of this kind of stuff, whether it's strengths philosophy or appreciative inquiry or um, whatever. And so it's an area that I'm particularly excited about because I think when we can help an organization or a leader focus on what's right with people and what energizes them, then all of a sudden things start to work better. So it's and I would say the other thing is, from our perspective, what we're really emphasizing now is there's been a lot of work done around the strengths. Many people might be familiar with the book called The Strengths Finder. Gallup, the Gallup organization was very prominent in kind of bringing that to, has been on the bestseller list for I don't even know how many years. And so I think that's a really important thing to look at, is to look at what you're good at. So what your strengths are in terms of what you're good at. We would say that the next evolution of strengths, though, is probably starting to speak about what energizes people. So not just what you're good at, but what makes you feel strong, what makes you feel
Mm,
energized. Because when you think about people being at their best, you can't really be at your best if you're not energized. You can be good at a lot of things, and some of those
Yeah.
things suck the life out of you. So
Yes.
what we're seeing now is that it's being good at something, it's just not enough anymore. There's
Right.
got to be a component of energy to this discussion about strengths.
And how do you help people identify what it is that energizes them? Because I
Mm.
find that, working with some clients, they don't even know where to start. So
Yeah,
what is your approach to helping them identify that source of
yeah.
energy?
Yeah, we've got a terrific assessment that we use called the Strength Scope, which is an incredibly scientific, valid, psychometric kind of thing. If you're into that kind of thing,
Yeah.
which I am, and so we use that primarily to help people identify. And so it identifies 24 completely unique energizers of people in a work context. So are you more energized by collaboration or details or strategy or relationship building, or so we can identify in a very, very accurate way uh, what particular activities are energizing for people, and also what activities kind of suck the life out of them, which is a pretty enlightening discussion to have.
Oh, I can imagine. So
Yeah.
for those people who maybe can't access your assessment, or can they access your assessment?
Yeah, you do need an accredited kind of person to access it,
Okay.
and so yeah, it's one of those kind of assessments. And so yeah, if you
Okay.
want to learn more about it, I'm happy to talk.
Okay, great. So you guys can
Yeah.
go to joshallen.com.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if 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 they're not able to reach you, let's just give people some ways that they can, in their own methodology, with
Mm-hmm.
their own tools, their own self-awareness, begin to take a look at what it is that energizes them. What
Sure.
advice do you have for people to start to pay attention to what energizes them?
Yeah, one of the things, and this was an idea I heard Marcus Buckingham say years ago, but I think it's fabulous, is to try to keep an energy diary. And it doesn't have to be
Mm,
anything complicated, but just take a sheet of paper, put a line down the middle, and put energizers up at the one side and drainers on the other side, and then just kind of keep a list. So I think what you said is key, Stella. It's to pay attention, and I think that's the hardest part, is because what we don't do is pay attention. We
right.
just power through. I've got work to do. I don't focus on what energizes or drains me. I just do. I just do stuff. And
Yes.
so I think, to your
Yes.
point, the key really is like that, somehow making ourselves more aware and paying attention to those, because we feel it viscerally. We feel it when we're
We
energized,
do.
and we
It's
also
in our
feel it.
bodies. It's
Yeah,
really, yeah, yeah,
absolutely. We just don't pay
yeah.
attention to our bodies enough. And
Right.
so,
We're kind of working head up, neck up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's probably key, and then you just keep a diary for a week or two, and at the end of it, I think you could go back and see, okay, I've got these activities that are in the energizing column, I've got these activities in the draining column, and then what I can start to do is look for patterns. I can start to say, okay, all of these activities were energizing for me. Why? What's the common thread here? And all of these activities, man, they suck the life out of me. Why? What's the common thread there? I think that could maybe help people. It's a good place to start,
I love
probably.
that. I think that's a great place to start. And again, I would encourage people to, like you said, pay attention to their visceral response to certain
Mm,
experiences. If you are feeling dread and tired and like you're
mm,
going uh, on into an uphill battle, you're feeling like you're just being pushed instead of pulled with enthusiasm, that may
mm,
be something that's draining.
yeah.
And if you're feeling just drawn from within
Mm-hmm,
and ignited and energized
mm-hmm,
and you like want to do it, you
yeah.
want to volunteer for it, um, you see more possibilities, you feel a sense of freedom, well, then that is probably something that energizes you that you want to get more of. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that we encourage people to do too is just to remember that you've got a lot more control over this than you might think. You know, you've got a lot more control over how you approach the activities in your day, how you structure your calendar, what activities you do first. Like we have a lot more power over these things than we think we do. I think many times we just power through our day like we're a victim of our own calendar, and obviously that's not a very helpful way to approach this either. We've got a lot of power here to change things, to make our lives more energizing.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people feel stuck
Yeah.
in their jobs and what they're doing, and they really don't feel like they have a choice, and
Right.
they just power through. Do you have any strategies, tips, practical favorite go-tos for people who are feeling stuck
Yeah.
and aren't feeling energized?
Yeah, we do. We talk a lot about that kind of stuff in our work. This is where it's helpful to kind of have some designation for these specific strengths as identified by our assessment, because then what you can do is, so it's like if I know that I'm energized by details, let's say, then all of a sudden I've got a category for that in my life where I could be on the lookout for that. And so that's where I think an assessment can help you out. And the other reason why I bring that up too is because one of the most powerful things, I'm sure you do this, Stella, but it's a reframe, right? So instead of looking at an activity that drains me through a lens of, wow, this thing just sucks the life out of me, can I actually approach it differently internally and have it be more energizing? So I'm going to give you an example. So I hate sitting in traffic. I hate it, and I live in Los Angeles, so that was a really bright move on my part. But I hate it. But I might hate sitting in traffic for an entirely different reason than you hate it. You might hate it too, but we might have different reasons. So for me, one of my big energizers is something called results focus, and so I love crossing things off my list, getting things done. Love it. So energizing for me. And I hate traffic because I get nothing done. It feels like the most epic waste of my life that I could ever imagine. And so I know why it's draining to me, because I don't get anything done. So what can I do about it? Well, one of my other energizers is self-improvement. I love learning. And so what I can do when I know I'm going to sit in traffic, which of course I have to do because I live here and I have to go see clients, what I do is I make sure I have podcasts on my iPhone, and I turn my car into a university. And do I still have to sit in traffic? Yes, I do. Do I experience the traffic completely differently? Yes, I do. All of a sudden, it's an energizer for me because I'm learning something new instead of focused on the fact that I'm not getting anything done. And so, simple, but you have to know kind of what energizes you and what drains you at a detailed level.
Yes.
But that reframe thing, I think, is really powerful.
I love that example. That's fantastic. Yes, we have, if we just treat our moments as units of opportunity where we have choice, and it's not just this whole experience of work that may suck, or this whole experience of, you can easily let traffic influence your mood for the whole day, or your life. You're like, oh, living in LA just sucks because I'm in traffic all the time.
Right.
But rather, if you just, like you said, you treat it ride per ride, and you use the opportunity for the podcast to learn and do what energizes you, that's really awesome. I love that. Yeah, that's cool.
It's been for me. I'll say that.
I love that. I love that. So you are, I feel you're a work revolutionary. I mean, you're on a mission, Josh, with really helping transform work culture. Can you talk to us about this movement that you've created, and what your intentions are, how people can get involved, and what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel like I just kind of joined this thing that's already started. And uh, but yeah, so this was last summer, a couple of friends of mine and I, we decided to kind of just put a name to what we were seeing going on, which is we think that there's a work revolution happening, and that there's a work revolution that needs to happen. And to kind of go back to your statistics, two out of three people are disengaged. If you look at passion, it's even worse. 80% of people are not passionate about their work. And so what we wanted and what we want to convey with this revolution idea, and I know some people kind of get pictures of like guns and it's violent, in some way. We don't really mean it like that at all. The original Latin word for revolution means a complete turnaround. So it's like the Earth does a revolution around the sun. It's a complete turnaround. And so what we want to accomplish is we want to turn those statistics around. So we want 80% of people to be passionate instead of not. And we want most people to be engaged instead of most people not. And so that's the turnaround we're looking for. That's the revolution that we think is at hand and is happening. And we would like to hasten it. We would like to see it happen faster. And so we started this group called the Work Revolution as an advocacy group, as kind of a hub for people who care about this and want to see it happen. And so we create events, and we promote anyone and everyone who's helping the work revolution come to life. And so that's what it's all about.
I think a lot of people don't realize that they're casualties right now
Mm-hmm.
in kind of the
Yeah.
um, this work experience that is now. Can you talk to us about, why the need for a work revolution? I mean, we talked about some
Mm.
statistics, but can you talk a little bit more about, why is this so important right now?
Sure. Uh, I think what's happened is that, and there's a whole lot of factors involved here, but to maybe oversimplify it just a little bit, the minute we get one of these, right? So I held this up earlier. So the minute you get one of these, all separation between your work and your life has been immediately erased. So that the minute you have a device like this, um, I think it brings to the surface the fact that your work and your life are not separate things. They're very much parts of the same thing. And because this is true, and because this phenomenon is just accelerating for a lot of reasons, we've got to find a way to make work a more meaningful experience. Because all of a sudden, we don't have our lives to go back to and recharge. We've just got all work all the time. And so if that's going to be the case, it better damn well be something that means something to you. If it's going to all of a sudden take over your life. And I think what's happened is that the work has kind of taken over everyone's lives, but we're not really, we haven't really respected that. We haven't said, we haven't noticed it. It's just we've just kind of let it happen. And as a result, we're feeling all of this kind of disconnection from meaning and from our humanity, uh,
Yeah.
because it turns out that our organizations are not very human places. And so I think this is what just it's what needs to happen for us to retain our humanity. Is organizations now need to evolve in a pretty dramatic way in order for us as humans to still be able to uh, enjoy living our lives. So, does that make
Yes.
sense?
Well said.
Okay.
Bravo.
Phew. All right.
No, I thought you captured that really well. I
Hmm.
think that's very well said. And so, what is your vision for this movement?
Hmm. Yeah, for me it's really nothing short of of seeing these statistics dramatically change. So when we do studies of the workplace, uh, I wouldn't be happy until we really do have a vast majority of people saying, yeah, I get to work in something that I actually care about, that I'm passionate about, I'm engaged, I'm emotionally bought into the place where I spend the majority of my life, which is at work.
Yeah.
And until the majority of people can say that, I will not be satisfied. So it's a big task, but uh, yeah, I get bored with small tasks. So this is exciting, I think.
It is very exciting. And I am a complete advocate of this movement and totally believe in it, but I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Cool.
So I have a client that I'm actually working with right now, and she's a very successful woman, top of her class at one of the top MBA programs in the nation, works at one of the fastest growing technology companies. And she's looking for a new place to work,
Hmm.
and she's wants more balance, but she's not sure if she has to be passionate about what she does. She'd like that, but she's not sure. And as much of an advocate as I am for feeling passionate and wanting to like wake up in the morning, I also want to give space to people who just want to see their jobs as a job, even though I think there's
Hmm.
potential for so much more.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes we may be, this is like a leading question, but do you think that we may be putting too much pressure on ourselves to
Mm.
really be in love with what we do, setting us up for some kind of dissatisfaction? Because
Yeah.
the rest of your life is happening. You have relationships, which are the number one driver of your happiness. You can
Mm.
find meaning in other parts of your life,
Yeah.
even though
Right.
you spend most of your time at work. Um,
Right.
yeah, I'm just playing devil's advocate, even though I believe that if you're spending most of your time, most of your life at work, you want it to
Yeah.
be something. But I don't know. I think
Yeah.
people haven't necessarily been so focused on being passionate about their work, and they seem to be a little bit
Hmm.
more balanced until now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think yes, I have a couple thoughts. So I think to your point about relationships, I think that's very very important. Um, and the reality is that the relationships that I like the people I spend the most time with are at work. So like there's no unless we dramatically change the way our society operates, there's no way around the fact that we've got to fix the way work is done if
Yeah.
we want more human well-being. There's simply no way around it in my perspective. The other perspective I have on this question, which I think is really important, is maybe more from the organizational side. And so I think the question is, do people want to have different amounts of connection to their work? Does everyone want to have their kind of life's mission be wrapped up in their work? Maybe not, and maybe that's okay. Um, and I think that's kind of for the individual to
Yeah.
sort out. And if they can
Hmm.
make their living and make that work, then that's fine. I think where it's getting more complicated is that from an organizational or leadership perspective, we're increasingly what we need from people. So if people come into my organization, what I need from them is I need them to I really need them to care, because I'm going to be asking them to do really complex things and answer really difficult questions, and I'm not probably going to be having them working on an assembly line and kind of pushing a button all day. I'm going to have them interacting with customers who are very complex, and I'm going to have them uh, dealing with like making complex products and thinking about how to connect with people, and a lot of really ambiguous things that require a lot of brain power. And if people don't care about that stuff, then you can phone it in if you're doing that kind of work. And so the people that I need on my team are people who legitimately do care. And I think that's maybe the other challenge here from an organizational perspective, is that because our work is becoming more complex and multifaceted, it's simply not, you're not going to be, it's almost like you're not as employable if you don't care about what you do. And so finding,
Yeah.
from that perspective, it's almost imperative that you somehow figure out a way to give a shit about what you do, because if you don't, I really don't want to hire you.
That is so, I love that point. That's really important.
Mm,
And thinking about where we are today, most of the work that we're doing is not putting widgets together, but it's solving
yeah,
complex problems. And if you're going to be motivated to go into the unknown and
yeah,
create a solution, yeah, you're right. You have to give a shit. And
right.
so
Yeah,
otherwise you're,
we're dealing with customers. Like
yeah,
customers can be really difficult. Like
yep.
so I really need to. I can't. And I mean, we've all come into contact with a customer service person who doesn't care, and that doesn't work out well for anybody.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, and guys, if you want to read more of Josh's work, you can access over 50 of his articles on his website, joshallan.com, and you can explore more of all the awesomeness he has to offer. But Josh, before we wrap up, is there one final thing that you'd like to share with people who are watching? Any final thought or tip?
hmm. Yeah, think I think that it's good to remember that if you're a person who cares about this stuff, it can feel very overwhelming. And so we think about these really big picture problems, like this revolution idea of reinventing work so it doesn't suck for the majority of people. That's a pretty big issue. And I think it's easy to become paralyzed and say, okay, oh, it's too big, I can't do anything. And I think that's the last thing that we want. And so if you were to go to like the Work Revolution site, by the way, workrevolution.org, you'll see anybody can join this movement, and all you need to do is say, whatever I can do in my sphere of influence, because you have a sphere of influence. Some people's are larger than others, and that's fine. It is the way it is. But you can influence someone, and whatever you can do to make work more human and more meaningful, that's exactly what you should be doing, and everybody can do that. So whatever that is for you, and I think that's maybe the thing to remember, is if we all do whatever we can do, then this will move. It is moving, and that's what keeps me going.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining today and inspiring us. And on that note, everyone has an opportunity to influence their world, their sphere. And so definitely check out workrevolution.org.
Yep.
Yep. And joshallan.com. And I will see you guys again soon on whoopa.com. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.